So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Our purpose today is to discuss as you know, the Long Island Innovation Park, its significance, certainly the overlay districts, and creating a live work, and we're working on the play part as well, but a live work play environment. Hopefully encouraging, I know we have some developers that are with us as well, encouraging you to look at this as an opportunity to build apartments here in the park, which would be wonderful. We're going to ask if anybody has any questions. We're going to use the chat feature today. Just put your questions in the chat, and at the end, we'll ask for Q&A as well. And we'll have several people presenting. So we'll hear from Suffolk County. We'll certainly hear from our valued partners at the town of Smithtown. And Joe Campolo will be taking us through a timeline of, what's happened with the park thus far based on our opportunity analysis. So, to begin, this journey with the HIA-LI began many, many years ago. And the park has always been in our heart. But I think in 2016, when Joe Campolo was our board chair, he came to us and he said, it might make sense for us to look at the economic value, the economic output of what was going on in the park. So we did exactly that. Again, you'll hear a lot more from Joe about it. But I wanted to take a moment and I wanted to thank, again, Suffolk County, the town of Smithtown, certainly the town of Islip, and the Suffolk IDA, and Stony Brook, who really helped us initially put all of this together. Out of the opportunity analysis came a wow. I mean, we understood more importantly than ever, what an economic hub this Long Island Innovation Park is. You've heard the stats, right? 55,000 employees, 1,300 companies, 1 in 20 jobs are dependent on the park. And 13 billion in economic output. So it's a major economic engine. We know that. We're really delighted today because we're partnering again with LIBI. I know many of you are HIA-LI members and LIBI members. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Florio to talk a little bit about the importance of this and the importance of housing in particular.
Well, thank you, Terry. And I want to thank Terry and her team. It's always great to work with them. They do a great job, and we're good partners on so many things together here on Long Island. Working for the future. This is another great opportunity. We had I would say a smaller meeting like this in person 6 months ago or so, and we wanted to bring it up again. Terry and I met and said, let's try to bring folks together. So we're happy to kind of reach out through our LIBI membership to get some of our developers to be a part of this, to learn about the opportunities in the park. But Terry's right, there is opportunity there now. With the infrastructure that is existing, it's always a challenge to have that, and that both have a willing partner in the county and the town to try and get something done. That's always a challenge here. But I think everyone on this call will agree that housing continues to be a challenge here on Long Island. Looking for development opportunities and things you can get done is difficult. It's time consuming, and it's expensive. So working with various partners here to cut through some of that red tape and hopefully find opportunities out there that could be developed into housing, apartments. I mean, we need housing at all types, all price points, for young people, for seniors, people with special needs. There's all types of need that exists out there, and this is a prime opportunity, prime piece of land and location. What Terry said, there's so many people that are employed in and around the park there. It makes sense. So, I think we look forward to hearing from, the county and the town as to what can be done. And hopefully, if it makes sense, we can move forward with some development opportunities within the park for, very much and sorely needed housing. So, we thank all of you for being a part of this. We'll continue to put this out there for people, and we'll do follow-ups as necessary based on the outcome of this call. So again, thank you for all being a part of this. Terry, thank you for setting this up, and look forward to working with you guys.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. So, I mentioned a little bit about um, Joe Campolo actually being really the catalyst and the person who helped lead us in this direction to really look at the park, what its significance was. And we've done a lot of work so far since 2016. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe to talk a little bit about how it started, what we've done, and lead us to, I think, the point of these apartments. So, Joe?
Great, thanks. Good morning, everybody. And thanks Terry and the team. Thanks Mike from Libby and our other partners. We have a great, we really have a great synergy and coalition going here on Long Island right now, and that's it's an important inflection moment for us. Um, my interest in the Hauppauge, what was then the Hauppauge Industrial Park, which is now the Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge, started back when I was a student at Stony Brook University. So we're going back 35 years ago. And in my land use and zoning class, Haley, if you can click next, is great. My land use and zoning class, we studied a book called Edge City. And the thesis of the book was, we have these cities, we have suburbs, but the suburb model is going to fade. People are not going to want to commute from suburbs to cities for long. So what Joel Garreau did, who's a New York Times writer, did an analysis nationwide of locations he called edge cities, which were places where people were going to be able to work, live, and play, and to have a sustainable, and noticeable quality of life outside of the cities. And Hauppauge was identified 30 plus years ago, and the industrial park at that time was identified 30 plus years ago as one of these edge cities. You can click to the next one, please. This is just very quick. His characteristics were of an edge city at that time where they have 5 million square feet or more of leasable office space. They have 600,000 square feet or more leasable retail spaces. They have more jobs and bedrooms. They're perceived by the population as one place, and resembles nothing as a city. And they identified again 4 edge cities at that time. Great Neck Lake Success Area, Mitchell Field Garden City area, Route 110 in Melville, and Hauppauge. So we're going back to 1991. Um, but the ghosts of Long Island planning that we still seem to be battling here 30 plus years later, for whatever reason, and I was just a young college student at that point, but for whatever reason, didn't embrace this concept then. But luckily, we are embracing the concept now. You can go to the next slide, please. Um, so what Terry was talking about and what we did, probably 8 years ago, was to really start to look at the park again as an edge city, and revisit this concept of, you know, if it's true, and we've proven with our downtown projects, it's true that suburbs don't work anymore. People want to work, live, and play from a convenience perspective, and I think that COVID has exacerbated that even more, accelerated that even more. We have a second bite from a planning perspective. We have a second bite now at trying to really create the innovation park as what was identified as an edge city. And the challenge is, as we're learning and going through this in the past, are getting, the boxes are getting checked off one at a time. So the opportunity analysis that we worked on gave us a roadmap of how to create the innovation park as an edge city. And luckily, we have great partners in the town of Smithtown and in Suffolk County who helped us get across the biggest hurdle, which is, we needed to get sewers done inside the park, and we've been working really hard to do that. A lot of good efforts from the county. I saw Peter Scully was on here. A shout out to him for his help in the past. And county executive, current county executive, and past county executives have been great in trying to get us to assist that. And then the town of Smithtown has been incredibly supportive. You're going to hear from Peter and Supervisor Wareheim. They embraced this concept of trying to create the Innovation Park as an edge city and passed necessary zoning legislation to have an overlay district inside the park. So there could be mixed use in terms of residential and in terms of retail. Another thing that the opportunity analysis showed us is it's not just jobs that are inside the innovation park, but they're probably some of the most important jobs to the Long Island economy on a macro level, perhaps not on a micro level, but on a macro level, because we started learning about this concept of what a tradable economy is. And tradable economy is, if you produce goods and services that are shipped or exported elsewhere and dollars come in from outside your region to inside your region, that's an incredibly important economic process that happens. It's what helps keep the tax burden down in municipalities around the country. And we also learned we're second to Silicon Valley. We're the second largest industrial park or innovation park, second only to Silicon Valley. So then we really started studying Silicon Valley and what challenges it did have. They have a tradable economy, and that really helps keep, as messed up as California's economy is, Silicon Valley is an incredible resource for them. Same thing here with the innovation park. Long Island as a whole has a below average, below national average tradable economy score. The park as a whole has one of the highest tradable economy scores, which helps bring Long Island's entire macro economy back up. So then we said, wow, those are really, really critical, important jobs. And we started looking at what do we need to do to save those jobs. So again, we looked at Silicon Valley, and anybody who's been following Silicon Valley at all sees there's a massive housing crisis going on out there. Exactly kind of what's transpiring here on Long Island is what has transpired in Silicon Valley. The outside houses outside of the valley, where the executives and higher paid workers live, the housing prices have increased dramatically. But there is in a crisis, a shortage of workforce housing for line workers and middle class workers to be able to live close to the proximity of working there. And not surprisingly, and we mirror that almost identically now as to what's going on Long Island. The housing prices have gone way past where people thought they would be, so that only higher paid employees and executives can afford single family housing. And there's a crisis and a shortage of workforce housing now, particularly in the park. And when we first started talking about this 8 or 9 years ago, people thought we were ridiculous. People said, it's ridiculous. The park is just a band of abstract buildings. There's no commonality to it. People aren't going to want to live there. But all of our research and all of our surveys have showed that that's exactly opposite of what the facts are. People do want to be able to live where they work and play where they work. And we have to start really focusing and solving this problem now while all of the forces are aligned, while we have a really strong partnership with the governmental agencies that need to be involved in this, while we have strong support from all of the Long Island business community that supports these housing projects. And we have to generate interest with developers as well to be able to do this. I mean, absent workers to service these businesses that are in the innovation park, what we're going to wind up with is a lot of warehouse space and a lot of self-storage space, which is going to significantly decrease the tradable economy indicators here on Long Island and force the tax base to go higher. Because if you're only circulating dollars inside your own ecosystem, there's no way other than inflation. There's no way to increase the pricing on goods and services, and the tax base gets necessarily generated higher. So the time is now. Really, the time is now. Haley, you can take the presentation down. I kind of talked enough, I think. But I can't stress really how important it is to get this movement now. And housing is important. Terry and I, the entranceway to the Parkway now is that brand new, beautiful building. I forget the address off the top of my head, but there's a Starbucks in it. And we went to go visit them with the town the other day, and we said, how's it going? And they said, the surprising thing is Starbucks is a little bit behind schedule. Why is Starbucks a little bit behind schedule? Because nobody's in the park on the weekends. Why is nobody in the park on the weekends? Because nobody lives in the park on the weekends. And we're going to have a challenge attracting and keeping these businesses and these retail businesses in there, if we don't have people that work in there, live in there, and are utilizing it on the weekends. So I can't stress enough that now is the time for us to push this across from a leadership perspective, from a development perspective, from a public-private partnership perspective, and get these projects off the ground so that we can get a second bite at mistakes that we made 30 years ago. We're kind of seeing the same thing. We're lucky in that the Long Island economy has been robust. We're kind of seeing the same thing now with Midway Crossing and the Ronkonkoma train station and the airport, and we're trying to undo some of the bad planning that went in years ago when that was done. And we need to really do it with the Innovation Park and protect the ecosystem that we've created that's so critical to all of us and to our economic future here on Long Island. So thanks everybody for being a part of this. I think you're going to learn some really great stuff from the town, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks, Tara.
Thanks, Joe. And so, there's an opportunity here, right? I think that's obviously what you've heard. And the county has been a very big part, as Joe said before, with the past and the present administration, and really helped push this forward. So I'm going to introduce Leah Jefferson. Leah is the Director of Affordable Housing from the Economic Development and Planning in Suffolk County, working directly with Ed Romaine. Leah, before you start, we do have a question in the chat, and I'm wondering, I know you're going to talk about the significance and importance of housing and apartments, and Steve has a question that says, how does the lack of downtowns on Long Island affect the housing crisis? So just talk to us about, I know Ed has been phenomenal at really going to the governor and getting monies for sewers, because we'll talk about sewer expansion in a minute, because it's so important to housing. He believes very strongly in, again, this live, work, play concept. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I've been doing, came in with the county executive when he came in early last year, and it really has been progressing quickly with the number of affordable units that have been proposed and wanting to come through in Suffolk County, because I believe not only municipalities, elected officials, but communities are realizing that there is an extreme lack of what people call affordable housing. And I think the initial part of that was getting over the stigma of what is considered affordable housing. And I think a lot of times communities object to affordable housing because they don't have a complete understanding of what it is. But affordable housing is keeping our young people, our seniors here, our workforce here. And I'm listening to the presentation, and it was just really interesting about having people live where they do work and having experiences and putting retail and shopping and housing there together in one place. And listening to, and I did a little research on the companies that are in the HIA, and a lot of it is manufacturing, and a lot of it is people who aren't necessarily making extraordinarily high salaries and large amounts of money. And the 80%, well, 100% of AMI for a single person is $87,500 here in Suffolk County, which is considered moderate income. Somebody who makes $87,500 qualifies for affordable housing. So 100% of area median income for a family of four is $156,200, which also would qualify a family for affordable housing. Now people might say, well, it's a high significant salary, but the cost here on Long Island is so extremely expensive. So we were looking at the HUD market rent, and this is the HUD numbers for a 2-bedroom, and it ranges from $2,200 to over $3,800 in Suffolk County, depending upon the zip code. And then we know in 2024, the average sale price was over $652,000. We're doing a down payment assistance program right now through Suffolk County through our home program that we get from HUD. And the maximum sale price that someone could purchase a home that's allowed is $561,000, whether it's new build or older construction. That creates an extreme issue because doing some research, most of our consortium is on the East End. There are no homes in the East End for $561,000. So there really creates a cycle of where do people who are at or below 100% of AMI going to go? And the biggest thing that was a block to creating more affordable housing was a lack of infrastructure, was a lack of sewers, was zoning, was an issue also, was having residential zoning or even mixed use zoning. And to answer the question too, with the downtowns, I think some of the downtowns have done an excellent job. Bay Shore is really coming up. They're doing more mixed use downtowns with their expansion of the Shoregate apartments that were just built. Central Islip not having a downtown with their DRI grant, the $10 million DRI grant that they received. They're creating more of a downtown. They're creating more apartments, more rentals, mixed between luxury and also being affordable. So we're working with a lot of the communities, a lot of the developers, some of them that are on this call today, that are working to create more affordable housing. And we're offering per unit incentives if they do create a number of affordable housing and do a set aside, particularly for veterans or for individuals with developmental disabilities that are connecting to the sewers and to our infrastructure. We've also been working with New York State. They've been a great partner. As Terry said, the county executive is like constantly in the governor's ear about giving us more money for infrastructure because it is so important, not just for housing, but also for creating new infrastructure, for creating downtowns. I recently saw that Suffolk County has an application in to be a pro-housing community. This was established by the governor, and it gives access to an additional $100 million in discretionary funding for the creation of affordable housing. So once that is approved, hopefully it will be approved for the town of Smithtown. They will have access, giving them more money through New York State Housing and Community Renewal for the creation of more affordable housing. But we are working with the municipalities to help them either ease their burdens, ease their permitting process, create new affordable housing. Southampton recently came up with a bunch of proposals that they are doing over 75 units, and they're going to be affordable. Even in Watermill, which was really surprising that they are doing affordable units in Watermill in Southampton, which is one of the highest cost of living zip codes in Suffolk County. But they've been working together with us. We've been providing them with funding. But we do want to work with our developers to we understand how expensive land is, how expensive it is to build, the cost per unit, cost per providing new housing, particularly the lower cost and the affordable units. So it's trying to make it more viable for developers to be able to do this, because we're not asking you to take a loss. But a lot of the developers have come through, have asked us, what can we do? How can we work with you to assist that? And we're trying to work with them to provide as much funding as we possibly can, whether it be through low interest loans, whether it be through grants. But we do understand that working with developers, working with communities, working with businesses, I see Carol Longworth is on from Empire State Development, working with her and other organizations as well, providing funding for the creation of affordable housing has been really instrumental in helping. And we're hoping to increase it. Smithtown has come really a long way in providing more units. I mean, it was for a long time, and not to knock Smithtown. It's a beautiful town. But they have kind of were a little lagging on their units of affordable housing, and I'm glad to see that they're looking to increase their stock and keeping our young people here, because in the last 10 years, we have had a severe brain drain of young people that are leaving that just simply cannot afford to stay here, and their quality of life has been impacted significantly. And rather than struggle, they've chosen to leave the state. But we're hoping that, working together and collaboratively, if there were any questions or concerns with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But we're here. The town executive has made it a priority to increase the number of affordable housing in Suffolk County. So I'm happy to be a part of his team and to be working with him and to be working with developers and working with all of you in the future.
Thanks, Leah. We really appreciate it. You just said it. There are pockets of money now coming down both, and you mentioned Kara. Thank you, Kara, for being on, from the state as well as the county that developers can use. So the timing is right. I just want to read a stat. So it says Long Island's 4.3% rental vacancy rate means there are fewer available rental homes right now than in any other suburban area in the New York region. So that tells you the need, right? And it speaks to what Leah just spoke to. The need for apartments, the need for housing is great on Long Island. So timing is right, right? So, this overlay district was created several years ago through the town of Smithtown, and kudos. I know Peter Hans will be presenting next, and I remember that town board meeting.
10:30.
It was in COVID. Yes, and despite it, probably the longest meeting and the most people I've ever seen because it was all on Zoom. And I'm going to turn it over to you to talk very specifically about the overlay districts and what that means to the developers on this Zoom.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Peter Hans, Town Planning Director for Town of Smithtown. I put together a slideshow. Let me see if I can share that with everyone. Does everyone have a screen up that shows you all there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear anything.
Yep.
So, yeah, good morning again. Let me see. I'm having trouble with. There we go. So as we were talking about previously, the industrial park is a major employer, 50 to 55,000 employees in the park. It's a major source of tax revenue for the town and the county and the whole region. 10 out of our top 18 town employers are located in the industrial park. And as you can see, the ones highlighted in red. And basically everyone else is government or schools or hospital. So this really shows the significance of the Hauppauge Industrial Park, and we update this every few years for the controller's office, basically for bond rating purposes to show the health and vitality of the town. It helps us get a very good bond rating so that we can take out loans to do projects throughout the town. Development, I'm going to talk more besides just housing, but also development that we've had in the industrial park in the past 2 years. We've had a net gain of approximately 370,000 square feet. New construction is over 860,000 square feet, and about 500,000 was actually demolished. A major factor for the vitality of the town is development. And if the health of the economy is poor, then you won't see as much development happening. Most of the buildings that we've had in the past few years have been distribution warehouses. We haven't seen new ones coming in. I think we're kind of maxed out right now on the distribution warehouses. What I see going to the Board of Zoning Appeals and Board of Site Plan Review has been more conversion of existing buildings, offices, and that sort of thing. But we have, like I said, nearly 860,000 square feet of distribution warehouse built in the last 2 years. We have various other projects with the pharmaceutical businesses. If I go back to that last screen, you'll see that Hauppauge Industrial Park is very big on pharmaceuticals. Yeah, LNK, Contract Pharmacal, Bactilac, and a host of others. So, we try to work well with our pharmaceutical companies, as that's a big employer in the industrial park. Um, this picture just happens to show the corner of Moreland and Wireless, where that big grass lot is. A building's actually proposed there. That's a company called Spacecraft. They have a site plan approval. Not sure. I think they held off with the project for now, but eventually they have approval for something there. This map just kind of shows a lot of the projects that are either pending, approved, under construction, or recently completed. Um, I'm a visual guy, so I like to kind of just see maps and look at it that way as to what's going on. Um, there's if we expanded the area a little bit more into Comac and down by Crooked Hill, you'd see a lot of projects going on down there as well. And this is just Smithtown. It's not showing what's going on, obviously, in town of Islip and other portions of the industrial park. Just some examples of the buildings that we had constructed in the past couple of years. Like I said, predominantly industrial distribution warehouses. Which leads me to sewers. Basically, in order for the park to succeed and continue to grow, you need to have good infrastructure, including transportation network in close proximity to an interstate or the expressway, power, water, fiber and telecom, as well as sanitary. Um, in 2023, we were working, I see Mr. Scully's on here as well. We were working with the county and DPW. What we were finding was a vast portion of the industrial park had sewer lines installed. However, a lot of the companies had still not connected. We worked with the county in trying to close the gap on that. To get people to connect. Numerous notices were sent out. And from what I've been told by the county, at least 25% of those have connected, and another 25% are in the process of connecting. And then one of the developers that has numerous properties, has set up a plan with the county on, which ones will be connected in different years. The area shown in red to the far west end of the industrial park, shown as Zone 4, that's kind of the priority right now. We've been working with Suffolk County DPW to get that part sewered. They're still on cesspools over there, which is really limiting the development. This is an older portion of the industrial park as well, where there's some prime land for redevelopment. However, unless they get sewered, they're really restricted on what they can do there. The county is working on acquiring some property for a pump station. Once they receive the property or acquire it, then they can work on connecting the rest of the industrial park. As Terry mentioned earlier, in 2014, we adopted an overlay district. Essentially, what it does is allow for increased heights in different areas of the industrial park. The area shown in blue along Motor Parkway can go to a height of 62 feet. The entire center of the park is permitted a height of 50 feet, and the area in red is limited to 35 feet, which was the maximum height that the entire industrial park was permitted prior to 2014. That doesn't mean that you can't apply for variances. We've had numerous businesses within the red zone apply for height variances. 49 Mall, I can think of as one of them. They're right in the northwest corner of the industrial park, and their heights are up around 50 feet. But we just got to be careful and mindful of the existing residences that align around the periphery of the industrial park. Then in 2019, the HIA reached out to the town and said, we'd like to do some housing in the industrial park. Um, so based on a study and recommendation prepared by the RPA, Suffolk County IDA, Stony Brook University, and James Lima, we created a mixed use ordinance. We were mindful that the industrial park is the economic engine of the town. We didn't want the entire industrial park turning into housing, because then there'd be no jobs for them to go to. But also you have to be careful where they're placed. We didn't want to put housing basically in between four pharmaceutical businesses that have smokestacks and things like that. So criteria were set up and adopted. It's a town board special exception use, subject to certain criteria, which you see up on the screen. We require a 20% affordable workforce housing units. There are no pending applications at this time. However, in the past year, I've had numerous meetings with potential developers. I do think we will see a couple of them happen in the next few years. Um, but there's encouragement. Um, you can pretty much anticipate around 27 units per acre. A lot of this was based on coordination with Suffolk County DPW because you can't have a site that's got 50 or 60 units per acre because you're going to deplete the yield, I mean the capacity of the sewer treatment plant that's in the park. You have to leave some capacity for businesses to grow as well. Um, what you see on the screen are examples of what we were thinking. If you were along Motor Parkway, we already have 5, 6 story office buildings along Motor Parkway. You have, 100 Motor Parkway, 102, 150, 410 Motor Parkway. So something like this looks like, it could fit in with the architecture, of the park and be a good window to the rest of the park as you're coming off the expressway. I just wanted to point out that although we haven't had residential units pop up in the industrial park per se, we do have a lot of housing that we've been working on that's nearby the park. Fieldstone at Comac. I saw Jim Tunis was on here. That's his project over in Nesconset. Uh, Quick 10-15 minute ride from the industrial park. That project's about half completed. Um, the We have Fieldstone and Comac. That's pretty close by. That photo that you see, the drone photo at the bottom left, that was about a week ago. So 98 units recently completed in the background, and another 98 up front at the bottom of the photo. Cornerstone at Kings Park was approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals the other night. We anticipate construction possibly by the end of the year with that one. And the lofts at Maple and Main and Smithtown, that's shown to the far right. Um, One of the big hurdles we've also had is NIMBYism. Most of these projects that you see, they were contentious, but our town board believes strongly in housing, and they pushed through to see that these projects, if they believe in them, come to fruition. Additional housing opportunities are nearby, but they're outside the town. But I think they're important to talk about. Station Yards or the Ronkonkoma Hub, over 800 apartment units. They're really attractive units. I take the trains from Ronkonkoma a lot, and I see the projects every time I go there. There's a new building popping up, but there's a lot of young workers like my son, they look at that and they're like, "Wow, this is a place I want to be." It's not just the housing and the close proximity to the trains that they can just take into the city, but you also have amenities, Great South Bay Brewing, and bars and places to socialize over there. The Windwatch. Gorgeous building with a great view, looking over the golf course and the Windwatch. Again, I pass it all the time. It looks pretty nice. It's fairly close to the industrial park. Um, that's all I had right now. I mean, if anybody has any questions, not just about housing, but any development in the industrial park, my office is happy to help you. I mean, we'll try to move the process along as quickly as possible. But yeah, just on the screen is my email address and phone number, and just reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And just a quick question. I'm wondering if you can answer for everyone. Do you know off the top of your head how many parcels are left? I know we started, I think, with 13 in the overlay district. I know Venture One has built some things. Do we have any idea how many are left?
No, it's still the 13 sites that were initially reviewed because none of them were developed in the industrial park.
Okay. And
Um,
more on Motor Parkway.
Motor Parkway, I believe, is where the bulk of them were. There were about 8 of them along Motor Parkway.
Yeah. And, the value to that for the people that are on this call, is there's great egress and degress, right? Because they're right off of Motor Parkway. So, thank you, Peter. I have to say, and I don't say this because he's on, I mean, the town of Smithtown is so easy to work with. They are open for business. So he means what he says. If you guys and gals have any questions, reach out to him directly. You
Yeah,
spoke a little bit,
absolutely.
yeah, you spoke a little bit about the sewers. I mean, that sewer project started many years ago as a $67 million project, really looking at what the current sewerage system looked like, and knowing that it was kind of at the end of its useful life, right? So we've worked both with the town and DPW, and I know, James, I think you're going to present next, right, about where we are now with the sewers from H2M.
Yes.
They've been instrumental really in helping us push this forward. So I'm going to turn it over to James.
I'll stop this.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to try to share my screen here. All right, everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, so as Terry had indicated, my name is James Yearling. I work with H2M. I'm in the wastewater department. I've actually had the opportunity to work on these Hauppauge industrial park sewers over the last 10 years, not continuously, but on and off as we started. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the past, the present, and the future, where we're going. I think everyone else is really focused on the housing and the opportunity. This is going to be a little bit more about the infrastructure and what was put in place to make this opportunity possible, and also the planning for the future to make sure that it continues to move forward. So like I said, I'm going to give a history of the brief history, not going to bore everyone. The sewer treatment plant expansion project that already occurred, collection system and district expansion that already occurred, and then the future expansion. So originally, the park had 2 treatment plants, the Heartland and the ITT, and it was a north and a south sewer district. Combined, they served a total of 149 of the properties in the park, and a flow of 450,000 gallons. And prior to the previous upgrade, the last major expansion or update to these was in the 1980s. So around the time the county started looking to do an upgrade, these treatment plants were already 30 years old and meeting their useful life. So what were the main drivers for the original expansion of the sewer district in the Hauppauge Industrial Park? Groundwater protection, environmental protection always come up when we're talking about sewers. Many of you are probably aware that Long Island's drinking water is pumped from sole source aquifers. And prior to the sewer district expansion, a significant amount of the park's users were discharging directly to groundwater through septic and leaching fields right on their property. At the time of the upgrade in the early 2000s, high levels of trichloroethane and trichloroethylene had been detected in the groundwater. And those were some of the driving factors to say, okay, what can we do to improve the environment and to protect our groundwater underneath the industrial park. Wastewater disposal requirements. So this ties directly into the development. Property owners are limited to what they could dispose of on site. So there's density limits and there's limits to what a septic system can use. And Peter touched on this. Without the sewers, you're limited on what redevelopment you can do. So one of the benefits of that is the economic development that could follow from sewers, allowing for expansion of existing uses and allowing for change of use for something like this overlay zone with some residential uses mixed in, which wouldn't have been possible without some of this expansion. So the expanded service area covers 249 additional properties over the 774 acres. So that's more than doubling the previous. On the previous slide, I think I had said there was 149 already connected. So the upgrade more than doubled that. 5 service areas, 4 pump stations to service those areas and get everything back to a central treatment plant. In order to do that, increase the capacity at the sewage treatment plant. The Heartland treatment plant was eliminated entirely and turned into a pump station. And it was consolidated into one treatment plant at the ITT site location, which was completely reconstructed. It was designed, the treatment plant was designed to handle industrial waste. So a typical BOD, biological oxygen demand you might see from residential sewage is in the 200 to 300 range. But this was designed up to 1,000 due to the industrial usage. And it was sized for 1.65 million gallons a day. So we went from 2 plants that had 450,000 to 1 plant that had 1.65. So, over 3 times the size of that treatment plant. And the end users servicing over 1,600 companies and 55,000 employees at the time. I know those numbers fluctuate and they might not be, accurate day to day. And then, so the county really drove this project and had foresight and allowed a lot of this to happen. So in 2006, the Hauppauge sewer plant capital budget, $63 million for expansion and upgrade, the sewer upgrade project. So talk a little bit about the treatment plant upgrade specifically. Some of the highlights of it, a recycled water system, odor control to minimize impacts to neighboring properties, high efficiency motors, variable frequency drives to limit the electrical use, standby generator so that service is not disconnected from any of the properties should there be a power outage in the park. It's able to run on a standby generator. And then, automatic controls, alarms, all standard stuff the county uses for efficiency. All right, so getting into the actual redevelopment and the 13 property overlay zone. So this is these are the 13 properties I believe Terry was referencing with discussion with Peter before, where the 7-acre zoning for potential residential reuse or residential redevelopment. So there's 5 sewer district zones, and those are all colored. The yellow zone to the farthest west, as Peter alluded to, is zone 4, and that's the only piece that has not been connected. Everywhere else, there's sewer available, and properties are able to connect, today, right now. The treatment plant is located at the red site down here, just off Motor Parkway behind the frontage on Motor Parkland Parkway. So zones 1, 2, 3, and 5 were completed. The existing Heartland treatment plant was converted to a pump station, as I mentioned. Pump stations and force mains were constructed to connect zones 2 and 3. And current flow to the wastewater treatment plant is about 450,000. So it's only at 27% of its upgrade capacity. So that ties into what Peter was saying with regard to only 50% of the properties had connected in that connection map he had shared. So there's opportunity for connections and people to continue connecting, and for these industrial users to tie in and redevelop or whatever they got to do. And there's lateral spurs to all properties and zones in all the completed zones already installed for future connections to property. So the way this system was laid out, it was all gravity sewer, so it's gravity sewer stub in the main. So if the on-site is able to connect to that spur, there's no need for mechanical equipment or low pressure pump stations are talked about a lot to convey that. It's all taken care of once it hits the road via gravity, and it's in the county system. Just touching on the county connection process. So Suffolk County DPW handles the initial connection applications. There's a number of steps. You got to complete the Suffolk County Health Services pool closure report, complete the special permit application, depending on the property, an industrial waste unit review, and then the sewer permit office will contact with any additional information they require. And then the final step is engaging with the Suffolk County DPW approved sewer contractor to actually complete the work. And the permit isn't issued until that contractor is ready. So there's a lot of this information on the county website. For those, contact the permit office. They're very helpful. They want to see people connect. So they're supportive of following these permit applications and making sure that they move forward. All right, talking a little bit about the future. So the final zone is zone 4, and that is the western edge of the park, centering on Moreland, mainly to the west of Moreland, but there's some side streets off to the east as well that remain to be connected. So this project has been, in development. As Peter referenced, we're waiting on acquisition of land for the pump station to be able to finalize design and talk about next steps into construction. Infrastructure-wise, there's 3,500 linear feet of force main going in, 12,000 linear feet of gravity sewer, and a new pump station. And the cumulative design flow for this area with all these parcels is 375,000 gallons a day. And there's a number of those. I'm just going to pop back. So sites 1, 2, and 3, which are identified in these blue boxes in zone 4, those will all be serviced by this future expansion. So currently those 3 sites don't have sewer service available to them. So I think others have touched on this with a little more knowledge than me, so I won't spend too long on it. But as Peter said, the report was completed in 2019 and allows for these special exemption mixed use for 7-acre properties, and the 13 properties were identified. H2 450,000 gallons per day were allocated for these projects. And I think just the main point here is that these are not possible without the previous sewer extensions and upgrades that were, both the HIA and Suffolk County had tremendous foresight in moving these projects forward when they did to be able to move these projects now. So that was the run through. If there's any questions, or I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, James. And, thank you again to H2M, obviously DPW and the town of Smithtown and the town of Islip. We've had every what felt like every other month, meetings really to push this along because sewers, and you all know, the sewers are so critical, a part of infrastructure. Without it, nothing else happens. So that actually ends our portion of presentation. So I'm going to open it up to some questions if you have any. So if you do have any, if you can just kind of raise your hand and take yourself off mute. And I'm at a disadvantage because I can't see the whole screen right now. So any questions? If we don't have any questions, just a few quick things. We're encouraged by not only the work that's been done in this park, but by the overlay district. Certainly, many of the top line, at least, strategies that came out of the opportunity analysis and sustainability study. The number one was to facilitate growth and innovation. We know that, right? To attract and retain workforce, to create a sense of community. So we are doing many things in that area now, but we're encouraging anyone on the phone, developers, or anybody with a connection to developers, to at least look into this. Talked about the brain drain with our kids. It's really critical, and it's critical for this park that, we have many, both biopharma companies and other companies that are actually busing people in right now to get people from other areas on a daily basis, and many of them work 24/7 to be able to work here. So there is an urgent need. So if you have any questions, certainly either reach out to us or anybody else that has presented. And thank you again to Mike. We really appreciate your partnership as well. Any
Hey,
questions?
Terry, it's Devin Kolka. I have a quick question, if it's okay.
Sure. What?
Hey, Pete, thank you everybody for presenting, but question for Peter. Has the town considered revising the overlay district zoning to allow for smaller properties, being that, of the 13 properties, the majority of them probably aren't going to be able to get redeveloped?
The short answer is yes, we are considering amendments to the ordinance. I mean, you always had the option to apply for variances on some of those criteria. But we are entertaining modifications because some of those sites are probably not the most ideal, the ones that were initially labeled in our mixed use code. There were some of those nodes that were in the interior of the park, whereas along Motor Parkway and Willits are probably the more practical areas. But yes, the short answer is yes, but the reason we haven't done anything is because whatever changes we make to that code, we have to make sure that the health department has the sanitary capacity in those sewer treatment plants.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So you know where I'm at. You can give me a buzz.
Thanks, Peter. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you again. Joe, you wanna close real quick?
I just want to say thanks to everybody.
I had one other question. Sorry. I was
Oh,
raising
Jim,
my hand. Hi, Joe. Sorry.
no problem.
Just wanted to say great presentation by everyone, very informative. And maybe I missed it, but is HIA-LI involved in this, and do they have a new code? That's the only question I had. Thank you.
So Jim, HIA-LI right now is 1/4 of the park. They do not have a new code, but yes, they are very involved in many of the discussions that we're having, and there's an opportunity there for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that Supervisor Carpenter and Supervisor Wareham have a very, very strong partnership, especially as it relates to the park, and they've both been very supportive of each other's initiatives. And honestly, this is, many, many people on this call and some not on this call 8, 9 years ago, this was just not a reality. It wasn't even something that people were thinking about. and it's now a reality because once again the business community and elected officials with political courage, as Peter was describing, the town of Smithtown has exhibited, as well as the county, have made this a reality. And I am super excited always to hear that people are putting forth concepts and plans, and we need to make this a reality, guys. We really need to make this a reality and make this park continue to grow and be an economic powerhouse for Long Island. So I just want to thank everybody for taking time for this presentation, and thank Terry and everybody else for all their leadership in moving these initiatives forward.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.